Morning. What do you make of the current state of play facing our lower house at the moment and a pathway for forming government in one way or another?
The uncertainty that still faces Tasmania politically is concerning, and the work that is put on hold as a result of the situation that we're in has a real impact on the lives of everyday Tasmanians. So I'm really hopeful that I know the Electoral Commission will be working hard to get the results finalised as soon as possible, and I'm really hopeful as soon as possible after that there is a government formed and we can get on with the business of doing what we should be doing for Tasmanians.
Obviously, the result of the election doesn't necessarily have a direct impact on you being an upper house member, but what do you make of this notion and this idea of power sharing and collaboration and compromise within the lower house, particularly given that we've seen a large and strong independent vote and the Greens have held steady with their votes as well, and we see now before us likely a large crossbench?
What this election result tells us is that Tasmanians want diversity of views representing them in their parliament. And I think going forward, it is incumbent on whoever takes leadership and governs to work across the 50 members of parliament to include them in the decision making, in the formation of policy, because that is the will of the people. That's what the people have said they want. The people of Tasmania expect their elected representatives to have the capacity to influence policy decisions. We're not just there to make up the numbers. They expect us and deserve us to be able to have influence and have a say in the decisions and the programs and services that affect the everyday lives of everyday Tasmanians.
To clarify, you mentioned that you would like to see collaboration across all 50 members of Parliament, including, of course, therefore, the upper house. Would you like to see upper house members have more of a say in policy formulation, given that, of course, the upper house is known typically as the House of Review, that it reviews legislation as opposed to proposing and putting any forward?
The stability agreement that has been put forward by the Premier in concept is a great start to forming a government, and to develop a power sharing arrangement in the lower house. However, the reality is the government needs to engage with and secure the support of members across both the lower house and the upper house of Parliament in order to pass legislation. Now, the people that we represent as members, even in the upper house, expect us to have some level of influence over decision making when it comes to the services, the programs, the policies that impact on their everyday life. And to get the best outcomes for Tasmanians, it is incumbent on whoever is in government to engage effectively with members across both houses to see that representation come to the fore.
Briefly, do you believe that the upper house perhaps doesn't have enough of a say when it comes to policy formulation and proposals?
I think it would be really helpful if through this next Parliament we could see power sharing arrangements. I'm going to start that again.
Sure.
I think the stability proposals that are being put forward by the Premier at the moment in liaising with crossbenchers are a really great start. There is a fantastic level of collective intelligence across all 50 members of Parliament. We come from very diverse backgrounds and experiences. We have passions and interests in different areas and expertise in different areas. That intelligence is really played out really well through our committee system of Parliament, where we all do have the capacity to interrogate different issues and raise new ideas and suggestions about ways forward. I think it would be fantastic if the collective intelligence of Parliament could be used more effectively and put to use more effectively to better represent the diverse views of Tasmanians that are now showing through in the representation in Parliament. So I would like to see, across both levels of Parliament, more engagement by whoever governs on the policy issues that matter most to Tasmanians. I think by using our shared intelligence or intellect and by using the voices of the community that we have to represent, we could get more balanced discussion, more balanced debate and better outcomes for the people of Tasmania.
Is that an idea that you've spoken with Premier Jeremy Rockcliffe or Opposition Leader Dean Winter about?
Not directly at this stage. I think they're quite busy at the moment, and I understand managing relationships is hard. It's a hard ask, right? When you to achieve outcomes, you need to effectively manage relationships, and that's a hard task. You're not only as a leader managing relationships across the house that you are in. You are also managing relationships across the Parliament, within your party and with external stakeholders. It's a tough job, which is why I think that whoever governs should not have any portfolio responsibilities. Whoever leads should have as their only portfolio responsibility relationships, managing relationships, because that is critical to achieving outcomes.
Very briefly, Bec, you raised some concerns about perhaps a lack of scrutiny over the budget in light of this snap election on ABC Radio this morning. Could you talk us through briefly what your concerns were there?
I think we could really benefit, or Tasmanians could really benefit from our budget process having a bit of an overhaul. You know, we see tons of resources poured into our budget estimates process every year, and it's pretty much after the fact. You know, the scrutiny that we undertake through the budget estimates process holds ministers to account, asks some hard questions, but doesn't typically lead to any change in the budget, not only in that year, but in outgoing years either. And really, I think we could get better outcomes for Tasmanians and better represent the needs of Tasmanians if we are able to have input into the formation of the budget before the budget is presented to the Parliament.
Meg Webb's calling for fixed 4-year terms for the House of Assembly. It's not an idea that's been, it's not a new idea, it's one that's been proposed before. What's your take on that?
Look, I need to do a bit more research into, I guess, the concept, the risks and benefits of fixed 4-year terms in the House of Assembly. However, concept-wise, I think having fixed 4-year terms for the House of Assembly would benefit Tasmanians. I think it's something that the Electoral Matters Committee, which hopefully will be reconvened in the 52nd Parliament, will and should look into as a matter of urgency, I guess, among the other busy work it will have. And I think the Electoral Matters Committee will turn its attention to that in the interests of Tasmanians.
So there's something to be said for the need for stability in light of this snap election that we've seen, and as you mentioned as well, we've had some early elections in recent years in Tasmania as well.
Certainly my hope for the 52nd Parliament is that every one of us 50 members gets out of bed every day remembering why we're there, and that is to represent the interests of Tasmanians. And to represent and serve Tasmanians, which we are so honoured and privileged to do, we must work together. We must be prepared to listen to hear and seek to understand, not just to respond. We must be prepared to negotiate and compromise and give a bit. We must be prepared to stick to our word, because relationships are everything. Without them, you just can't achieve outcomes for the people who we represent, and that's what we owe to Tasmanians.
A very fair point to end on. Thanks, Bec. We'll trouble you for a couple of days.
No worries. Bless you.